Hi, everyone. If you're looking for Ask the Professionals networking session with Basile Lemba, you are in the right place. So I'm Kelly Coughlin. I am the Senior Career Manager here at the Office of Career Services within the Costello College of Business. And I'm here with Basile, who, as you can see from his background, has some experience in networking, kind of an expert. In fact, has a book published about it. So we are going to be picking his brain today for all of the tips and tricks on networking and also kind of learn about your amazing journey yourself that you went through. So I'm going to let you kind of go ahead and do your intro. How did you get started kind of in the world of networking? I know that you have a really unique background story because this wasn't always your realm and area of expertise. So why don't you walk us through it a little bit?
Okay. Do we have 24? We have 24 hours?
So yeah.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, my name is Basil. Thank you very much for having me, Kelly. And also thank you for the attendees. I'm originally from Cameroon, Western Africa. I left when I was 14 and I went to France. And I lived there for 10 years, became an architect, and started working as an architect. And on my off time, I was helping a nonprofit organization. And one day they came to me, they said, "We have a position for you at the headquarters in Florida." And I was like, "Me? I'm not looking for a job." But since I liked what they were doing, I took them up on it. So I moved to Florida to work with that nonprofit organization. And there I got trained in organization. And however, 10 years working there, my parents retired. So I stopped working there and I moved up to Northern Virginia to start a business. And that's where I run then into networking. So I was having challenges with it. I understood that the event was not well organized. So I created a breakfast event. And after that, then I realized people didn't know how to network. That was 20 years ago. And that's how we decided to research codified networking. So now we have it as a full-fledged science and has been approved by George Mason University. So we teach it there also through continuing education. So here I am now. I'm helping people. With the last people lost their job last year, we got calls from the state, from the county. So we started working with them and help them now. Now we're helping people as well find a job or get into the job market.
So let's unpack some of that piece, right? Because
Yeah.
not everybody's living in France and then gets an opportunity and decides to move to Florida for a nonprofit where they train you in an organization. So not exactly the most, you know, linear path. Tell us a little bit more about what was it? Because you said you organized this breakfast. You could, see there was some sort of gap in knowledge here that people don't necessarily know intuitively how to network. So what was it that you were noticing? And then tell me how, you kind of formed the business and what are the pieces that you're teaching others.
Yes, absolutely. When I got here over 20 years ago, I went around, I was having trouble myself finding, connecting with people. So then I kept telling people, I want to meet more people. I want to meet more people. And a lady came to me and said, "You want to meet a lot of people?" I say, "Yes." She said, "There's a luncheon over there. There will be 150 people there." My eyes went big, 150. So I was thinking if there's 150 people, I can get 30 to 40 business cards. So I asked her how much. She said $150. $150? One luncheon? So I spent the money anyway and I went in. The room was jammed packed. You couldn't move. A voice came over the PA system. They say, "Have a seat. We are going to serve lunch." You squeeze where you could find a chair. On came an MC here, introduced the keynote. The keynote grabbed the mic, but never let go. 2 o'clock came, people are leaving to go back to work. And I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. 3 minutes later, the room was empty. And I was standing there with 3 business cards. That's when I realized, oh my God, one of the problems was the organization of the event. So then I surveyed business people. I took what they wanted and created a breakfast event. And I created that event, but I had this setup where people will be like a speed dating. You talk to one person, the other person talk to the other person, and then you move to the next chair. And Nancy then blew up between two of them. And we realized then that the problem was that one of them did not know how to network. So we went to bookstore, library, looking for the networking know-how, but we couldn't find anything. What we found was either successful actions or opinion. And that's how 20 years ago we started researching and codifying networking. So now that we have it put together, now we can teach anyone how to network as easily as they drive their car so they can enhance the relationship or find a job.
Let's talk a little bit about that because one of the things that certainly comes up in our world of career advising
Mhm.
is I have students who come in, and especially those who come at the end of the semester and they say, I've applied for 100 jobs and I haven't heard anything. And I ask them, several follow-up questions. One, are you tailoring that resume to everybody that you apply for, every job? Are you doing a cover letter? And who are you networking with? And a lot of times when I bring up that networking piece, they're like, well, either nothing, or what are you talking about? Or I put a post on LinkedIn or connected with people I already knew and nobody's hiring. And so let's talk a little bit about what's wrong with that approach and how would you advise students to kind of the importance of networking and how do you expand that?
That's a very key question. In our research, we discovered that a couple of things. One, the quality of your life is proportional to the quality of your networking, number one. Number two, the amount of money that you make is proportional to the quality of your networking. When we think of networking, we think of that thing where business people do. But in our research, what we isolated was the basic laws of relationships. When you have say society, the definition of society is human being and their relationships. It so happened when you have say society, you have said in that same breath networking. We want to get networking known. Our goal is of the institute is enhance relationships amongst the people of Earth. You guys are learning about me right now, but ideally, you need to learn about what we do at kindergarten level. It should be part and parcel of your life. If you were educated, if somebody shared the information, you start looking for a job, thinking about a job when you're in high school. You start meeting people, just like Elise, you talk to people. There's a job fair, you go and talk to people, not so necessarily to look for a job, but to start learn how to interact with those people who are in the job market already. When you go to a job fair, even there at GMU, you go maybe not a job, but practice. There's an opportunity for you to practice to talk to those people. If you get a job, go to the job, go with the mindset to learn whatever the job is. Do not worry, learn, do the best job possible. You're building your resume. You see, later down the line, when you're looking for a job, they say resume. Have you worked somewhere? You say, well, that's too late. But you want to start early, and then you can say, I work with this company. This is what I did. This is the product that I got. This is what we achieved, and whatever. Now they are ready to have a real conversation with you, and you feel good to use with yourself. You're confident, and they pick those things up. So I say, learn to network if you can. Attend the event, participate, be there. Build your resume, getting a job, even if they don't pay you, or maybe your dad or cousin, has a boutique or a business. Say, can I help over here during the summer? Get yourself a resume. You just reading yourself for the marketplace. Those experiences would only help you in the future.
And I think we can talk about kind of the different approach. You're kind of touching on it too, of when you are going to a networking event versus a career fair, you're not using necessarily the same approach of, you're talking to other students versus you're talking to an employer who is actively recruiting, right? There's different language you might use or different outcomes you expect, but we're still always building our connections and building that network, right? That's the whole point, is to grow our network. So even if that employer doesn't necessarily have the job that you are interested in right now, they don't have openings, it doesn't mean that you say thank you and run away, go to the next table. You still want to get their contact information, kind of form this relationship, all that kind of stuff. But if you could talk about, and you're sort of getting into it with that, going there to listen, having that curiosity. Nobody wants to be talked at, right? You don't go to a networking event with your memorized Chat GPT intro that you created, and then you're just going to spit it out robotically to everybody and hope that something sticks, right? It's a two-way street. So if you could talk a little bit about, how would you even get into this conversation? What does that two-way street look like versus talking at people? Because like you're saying, you're trying to listen and build the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Very good. That's a very good point. It's a key one. One of the biggest the question I got the most over the last 20 plus years is, how do I start a conversation? Which is understandable, is a problem, really. But we solve that easily, and it's easier than you may imagine. Let's say I see Kelly and I want to talk to Kelly. Okay. And I walked up to Kelly. I just simply said, I don't think we have been introduced. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
When I say I don't think we have been introduced, Kelly start talking. Now we are in conversation. What it rolls. From there, just like Kelly said, now I'm listening. I don't just ask the question and go like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm asked a question. I don't think I've been introduced. I'm interested. She start talking, and I'm listening. If I have a question regarding what you're talking about, now I ask and this and that. Now we're in conversation. I'm not trying asking her for a job, something. I'm just talking to her as a human being. And from there, the things developed. And like she was mentioning, after that, you can connect with person on LinkedIn, they send a little note. It doesn't matter if that they are not you feel, you're still building a relationship because if you do that later on, let's say you need something, let you need a job, you can go back. I can go back to Kelly. Kelly, listen, we met at the GMU thing. I tell you, I'm looking for a job now in the CPA arena or whatever. Do you know of anything? That's how you use your network, but you build it first. You put it there first. Don't discriminate. They are the other company. I'm doing this, whatever. Build your network. Have those connections. Build this big. The bigger, the better. If you build a relationship, and as you said, maybe you stay in touch. Maybe during, I don't know, the Christmas or holiday, you send a little note or some gift or whatever. You're building your relationship. When needs be, you can rely now. You can go back on your network right now. Hey, can you help me with this? Or I'm looking for this. Or can you introduce me to so and so company? I see that you guys have been working together. You have a network. That is the strength of your network, connecting those things and staying in touch with them. But I work on it.
Yeah, and I do think that's such an important point too, is, building your network is not a matter of reaching out once, connecting on LinkedIn, and then not reaching out ever again
Yeah.
until you need them. Or
Yes.
it's a matter of, we talk about this approach in our networking class. We'll go a lot more into the nitty gritty of how do you do this? How should we create a personal pitch and elevator speech and all that kind of good stuff?
Mhm.
But again, it's not just I'm going to connect with them once, hope some magic happens, or only connect them when I need something. And that's not the
Mhm.
right approach, because we're trying to your point, build a relationship with this person. So let's say, use for an example, I'm going to use LinkedIn. I want to work at Bank of America. So I'm going
Mhm.
to find a George Mason alumni that works at Bank of America. I can do that through LinkedIn, really easy. Connect, with them. Let's set up a 15-minute Zoom chat where I'm, asking them questions and I'm curious and I'm listening, but I'm also telling them kind of my story and what I'm looking for. Immediately after, I'm going to send them a thank you for their time. But 3 weeks after that, I might say, hey, you know what? I was looking at these openings that I noticed at Bank of America. I just want to let you know I did apply for this one. Again, thank you so much for your time and the insights. I really value it. I'll keep you posted on my search. And then you reach out, you do these little tickers kind of on your calendar that you are going to keep in touch with these people in your network over time. And it doesn't necessarily mean that every single week you need to give them that update, but that you do need to circle back and continue building that relationship. Correct?
Absolutely. And then there are a lot of meetings that GMU alumni have, be it real estate, be it that, do the thing. Those meetings, I see them. In fact, I'm attending one. They guys have a dinner coming up sometime here. I'll be there. So these are places where you want to take the time to go. Now you get the opportunity to meet the alumni in person. The alumni is more than happy to help somebody in the GMU. So that's where you get that personal contact. Capitalize on it. This is like I will look for all those events and be there. The way to get a job, I'm getting ahead of myself. One of the things I wanted to share. Ideally, when you finish your school, you should have a job ready for you. If you play your card well, the job should be ready for you, and you want to have the people skill to fit in, which is networking. That I got a diploma now, I'm looking for a job. You are behind the eight ball because the time you finish and the time you get a job 1 or 2 years, this is money that you're leaving on the table. Have you started earlier following what Kaylee tells you, doing diligently what they tell you because she has experience? Guys, I realize today the people in school is hard to listen to another person or the professor, whatever. Listen to those people, tap on their experience. Ideally, should be when you get your diploma in the week or two after that, if you choose to, you have a job. You need to learn the job before you finished. If you do the thing we're discussing, that's how you play the game. Because trust me, if you wait for a year, that is money that you never made in your lifetime. Think about it. But if you start earlier, landing a job, doing this internship, making a good impression, and then talking to the people, attending the meeting, ideally, that's how we do. I would do it. I wouldn't wait to get a diploma and go and look for a job. It's much like a hotel who opens, and now they turn around and then say, who can get over here? When an hotel opens, they pre-sell. The day they cut the ribbon, people walk with the suitcase. They go in. They don't wait to now start filling the room. They fill the room before. That is the same mindset you want to have. Get the job before you get the diploma. Once you get the diploma, you sell in.
I love that. It's not a matter of first I get the degree and then I start my job search, right? We want to be starting at least 6 months ahead, if not even further, which is why one of the things that we promote here is getting an internship because that is your key in there. But I can't tell you how many students too that I see and they said, do you have this kind of magical list of recruiters that I can now get in touch with? And it's so heartbreaking because, as you're saying, there's all these alumni events, but also if they go on Handshake and you go to the events tab, and recruiters are trying to meet you every single month, your entire college career. So, especially in the fall and the spring, you will find over 50 events a month, where these recruiters are trying to meet you. A lot of those are virtual events, so it's not hard to attend. But
Mhm.
there's all these recruiters who were trying to reach out to you that if you had followed, kind of the advice that we're chatting about today and built that network with that recruiter, with those people who were attending, that would have really increased your chances of getting your foot in the door there in advance.
Yeah, and you also have Chamber of Commerce. You here at GMA, there is Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. You can go and attend to events. A lot of their events are free. If you're looking for a job, you got to get off and go and find it. It's not going to come and knock on your dormitory. Here, we got a job for you. It doesn't work that way. You got to get out there. And guess what? The more you get out there, the more chances are you're going to get a job. It's a matter of a formula. We're talking about a formula over here. Attend the event, meet people, develop the relationship. This is the formula to get a job. It's no more difficult than that. The HR will tell you 80% of the jobs are found through networking. Now it comes down to what Skilly was saying. How much of it have you done? Where have you been? Who have you talked to? Who have you followed up with? If you haven't, then nothing happened either.
Right.
You'll be right, nothing is happening, but you also the reality is also you didn't do much of anything. We're not saying that to accuse you, we're just giving you the tips, the tricks of how you make this thing happen. And truly, if you have your mindset on it, mindset is key. If you have the mindset, hey, listen, I'm going to learn, I'm looking for a job, I'm contacting people, I want to learn, what is it I can learn from you, what can you help me with? I kid you not, there's no reason not to find a job. We teach people now, we have a course we developed to get people find a job. Some of the things I'm sharing, that's what we do. And most of them find a job just like that. In a market where say nobody can find a job because we're teaching them a formula, we're giving them a roadmap to follow. That leads them to a job.
Yeah. And we've certainly seen it a lot here too, where, I have a students who graduated 6 months ago, they're still in the job search. They can't figure out what's going wrong. And again, we look at sort of this either they created a general resume that they dealt out like a deck of cards and hoped something stuck. They weren't bothering to do the cover letter. They did the cover letter, but again, that was generic as well. And then, of course, that key piece of the networking, right? Did you network? And so once people kind of enact that strategy, to your point, they are seeing more success. The one I had a marketing student who had graduated a year ago, and she came in was having problems finding a job. We went through all the strategy. We went through a networking plan, gave her the techniques to use, and she had within 3 months like 3 to 4 job offers. And so it breaks my heart, though. I'm like, I wish she had come to my office a year ago,
There
and
you go.
wouldn't have
So
been struggling.
that's a year worth of salary, that
Right.
money that could have gone in her pocket. That's what we're talking about here.
Right. And I would love to hear your input too, because of course, one of the things that we see are the students who maybe putting yourself out there, not, I totally identify, I'm the woo extrovert and I love chatting with people, but
Mhm.
I understand that everybody in my office is not necessarily of the same mindset or comfort zone. So, how would you recommend people kind of we know that it is successful to use this technique, but if I feel intrepid about taking that approach, what's my first step or how do I get the nerve to do this?
Well, that's a very good question. In networking, the most important skill is not talking; it is listening, and that everybody can do. Okay, we talk about the mindset. When you walk into a room, do you walk in there and say, listen, somebody got to hire me? Or you can go that way, or you can say, listen, I'm learning to find out what people are and what they do. I think that if you have your mindset, I'm here to find out who people are, what they do, it did take the pressure off of you. Now you can just talk to the people. Just say, hey, I don't think we have been introduced. They start telling you. Let the conversation, you're not trying to control it, just let it run. It's going to take its course. You're going to be much more comfortable with it, and then you can move on. Actually, there's an industry called network marketing. I'm sure you hear about it. And if you look into this, you'll find that at the top of the pay scale, you'll find most of the people at the top are people who are quote unquote introvert. Why is that? Because they start a conversation, they listen. Success in networking comes with listening, as I say. They listen to the person tell them their issues and all that, and say, you know what, this is what I would recommend. It's harder for people, that is natural for them actually, if they understand the technique. It's about listening and taking it from there. Do not worry. You don't have to be a super duper. Sometimes people tell me I got to be a public speaker. You don't have to be a public speaker to do networking. You have to be able to listen. Guess what? It doesn't matter who they are. They can be a CEO from the garbage man to the CEO. All of them, if you can give them your ear, they're more than happy to talk to you.
I want to share one place this comes up as well. This is more as part of like an interviewing technique. But one of the things that employers share with us when they're trying to decide who they want to have move in the interview process, one of the things that popped up was who had listened, right? So we had a conversation. I asked you questions in the interview and you responded. And then at the very end, when I say, do you have any questions for us? If they come with their set standard questions that aren't a reflection of our conversation at all, it's just like, oh, I wrote them down and here's what I'm asking you versus I listened and I heard this piece of it. So I'm going to inquire more about that to showcase that I was listening and I'm interested enough. So I think that's funny how it's not just in networking, or that networking is actually piece of the interview to say, this is somebody I'd want to work with because they listen and they carry on a conversation and they're tuned in.
Mm. The interview, what would recommend? Be in the moment. Like Kelly is saying, we're saying the same thing. Be there, listening to them, be interested in the company, ask you a question. Because when it comes to a post, they see 80, 20 people. How do you stand out? Which is what you're saying. You got to show interest and be there. If you're thinking about your question, I'm going to ask you a question, they can pick up that you're not there. Obviously, nobody wants that person. You got to just be there. Don't stress out. Just be in the moment. Listen. Whatever you have the question, ask about this, that, the other thing. Be there. Anybody can do that. You don't have to be super duper. Like Kelly's talking, I'm listening. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about here. She says something I can tell you, Kelly mentioned, because I was listening. That is really it's the most natural thing. Just be natural, be there. If you're talking to another human being, like you're talking to your brother, your sister, be in a conversation. They love that. But when somebody's talking to, I'm looking for a job, I gotta say the right thing, I gotta write the right question.
Especially the natural component of it too, right?
Mm.
Again, not having this prepared speech, not listening isn't just letting the other person go first and then saying what you came to say, right? It's
Mhm.
reflecting back a piece of what you heard to kind of try and build this relationship. The other thing that we should have mentioned at the very beginning is that networking was how you and I met, right? Because you were at a networking event with my husband, and
That's
after
correct.
meeting you, he's the one who referred you, said, you know who you should have talk to your students? This person. So I think that, that would have been a good starter because that's exactly kind of how this relationship happened. But I did want to pose the question. We did touch on some of this, but as somebody in your position who has been there and seen it all, what advice do you have for students who are in this journey, whether they are getting ready to graduate this spring or maybe they're a little earlier?
I'll say do what we've just mentioned. If you haven't, do a lot more of that. Meaning go out, meet people, get your resume, follow the instruction how to write a resume with Kelly, make sure that you have a good, proper presentation. If you happen to have an interview, this is what I may suggest. Study the company. Go to the website, do a work, see what they are, what they do. Study their charity, their philanthropic actions. So in that interview, when you go, answer the question, but also ask them about the company, the question that you have based on what you read. You can also say, I see that you guys are putting money in this direction, on this philanthropic action. Can you tell me why? Because that's generally is the heart of the organization. They're telling where their heart is. Now you're talking their language. You're talking about what they're interested in. It shows that you're interested. You're not just looking for a job. Do not talk about the bonus. Do not talk about increase in pay. Because this is how the business person think. You got to come in first, produce. And then when we make the money, if there is some money made, then we pay you a bonus. If you have the right mindset, they won't have a problem paying you the bonus to good companies. But when you haven't started yet, and you start talking about the bonus you're going to get in 3 months or the thing, top companies going to say, "I don't have time for this." It's the wrong mindset. The bonus does not come from the sky. It's not like they're going to go to a bank and borrow money to give you a bonus. You got to tell them, convey that you got to have the mindset. I need to go into the company and produce. When the company does well, they will have a lot of money, and then they take some, they give to me as well. Personally, I will shut down if somebody come and say I'm going to get a bonus 3 months. Because you haven't done anything. Where do I find the money? I go to the bank. You see me going to the bank borrowing the money because I got to give you a bonus because you demand the bonus. No, the bonus comes from the work you do. We all work together, and then we do well, and then we take some of it. We reward you with the bonus. Watch that. Don't go there. Like I got to get the bonus, the pay raise. It's some company they're going to smile next thing you know, because wrong mindset. That's what I say. Go to the job to learn. When you learn, this show value. The good CEO, good senior does not have a problem if they see production. You want to sell them, they see production, whatever you want, you can get it. But if it's not there or it hasn't even started and it's talking about it, red flag for some companies.
Sure. I think too, I love the research piece of it. We usually advocate as well as that's another opportunity to stand apart even on that cover letter, right? Like you're saying, if you have researched their philanthropy, there's something in that cover letter that you can also throw in to get picked for the interview in the first place to say, your CEO recently said this, right? That aligns with my own values of this. If you spend the whole cover letter just talking about you're not standing, the part in the way you want to, right? If you tie in how your values and this company's values, and I want to work for you so bad, I have done my homework. That is another way you can stand apart to even get to that piece in the interview, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to close it there, but I appreciate everybody sitting in, and I thank you for your time, Basile. But does anybody want to open this up? Does anybody have any questions before we close out here? Okay, do you have any advice for finding networking events which are worth our time? Oh, that's a good point, because you were talking about attending that breakfast session that ended up being a big waste of money because there was no networking time. I think in general, whether you're a business analytics student or financial planning, wealth management, that kind of stuff, I would offer a couple different things. One would be finding professional associations that would generally have networking events, but also take advantage of the professional student groups that are on campus, because a lot of times not only do they have regular events, but they bring in employers to those events.
Danny raised his hand.
Oh, Danny.
Danny, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, hey, how are you? Thank you so much for holding this event.
My
We
pleasure.
touched about this a little bit, but what is the best way to stay in contact with the connections? At Professional Quest or the career fair, I met so many employers, but how do I keep that LinkedIn connection meaningful? Not just, oh, happy Christmas every once in a while.
That's a good question. When you go to a fair, there is, I'm assuming, some companies that you feel more connected with.
Yes, absolutely.
So these are the ones you deepen the relationship with. The other, you keep them, that's the other will be your New Year's thing or whatever. Or better yet, you can follow them on LinkedIn, see what they are posting and comment or do something about it. You don't have to write necessarily, but you can, if something communicate to you makes sense, you can comment or say you like or whatever. But the area of concentration should be those companies that where you're trying to look for a job or that you have a connection with, because you can't follow up with everybody. So you got to select your people, spend the time there, be creative. You need to send them a note or what for an event they have, whatever. These are you people. And the rest, you just keep an open door relationship, I would say. That's my recommendation.
How do I keep that vague relationship alive to the point that if I do need them in the future, they would be more perceptive to helping?
Well, that's the beauty of LinkedIn. If I was you, when I meet, and I do that, and you see, when I go to an event, I always have a deck of cards that I keep like this. I'll create a spreadsheet where I keep all their information, okay, possibly with their emails. But from time to time, you can originate a note or whatever. You can say something about what's happening at Costello University. You can just do bit information. Or so and so came and speak. Or da. Keep them informed. You can provide valuable information for them. Or a fair is coming at a George Mason University and whatever. You see these simple things like that keep you in communication with them, and you're bringing something to the table, even though they may know about it. So now they're looking at this as a resource. You see, somebody shares something of value with them, tell them this is what's happening, or George Mason acquire this, or the president or do this. So some tidbit, Lord knows if GMU has a whole bunch of those that you can get out, give something. Don't just wait for it to need something. That gives you an opportunity to change general information that could be of value or appreciation or that somebody need to know. So now you are in control of the relationship. It's not very full control, but at least you're doing something about it. It's a two-way street proposition. Do not estimate that because you're a student at GMU, you cannot bring anything to the company. You can. I just give you an example. Telling them a fair is coming up. Telling them this grant was given at the university. Take ownership of the relationship and do something about it. And you can always, by becoming creative one way or the other. Right. And that's now you have value. Then later on down the line, when you're talking to them, it's not just who is this Danny guy? Oh, we met him 3 years back. Well, now he's calling us, probably looking for a job. That's a reaction. But if before that you throw, maybe you can make a point, Danny, every 3 months. You go and find out what's new with GMU and shoot it to those people.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
You feel good with yourself. This is your network. But now maybe a company, maybe somebody want to get in that company. You can say, listen, Ma'am Danny, we met at blah, 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 blah. They pay attention to you because of the work that you've done. In fact, they'll be impressed that, my God, the student does that. Oh, my God, Jesus Christ, that God, somebody special. My goodness. Get him in over here. We need him.
All right. Thanks so much. So take ownership of the relationship.
Yes. Take ownership. That's really the key thing. It's not just passive that they happen. No. Do something for them. That's what networking is. The purpose of networking is to help the other person move their product or service or achieve their goals, whatever the goals may be. The goals may be being informed about what's happening on campus. Well, you fill that in. You're networking.
Thanks so much, Basile.
You're very welcome, sir.
I think, that's one of the things that, 2 points I thought of. One, if you are routinely contributing, here's an article I saw that looked like it had to do with what we just discussed last time. What are your thoughts on this? Like, caring about what their opinion is, or I'd love your advice on this. I saw this. Is that the kind of opportunity you would have went for when you were in my position, or what's your 2 cents on this? Kind of keeping that relationship going. The other thing too is, a lot of times there'll be employers who are interested in speaking to classes. So maybe you want to, I'm actually taking a class. Maybe you want to meet this professor. I'll introduce the 2 of you because I'm taking this, there's all sorts of things that, again, as a student, it's a 2-way street. You have things to offer as well. It's not like, it's all coming from the employer down. So, well, thanks again for joining us, everybody. Again, Basile, thank you for your time, but I can't thank you enough for donating your time and spending your afternoon a little bit with us.
My pleasure.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.